themselves. Akala is mine. No, he is mine, they said harshly to one another. I will be among his first 5 queens, they argued, causing a tight knot of anxiety to form in his chest. This was the opportunity he had always dreamed of, to be respected, to be a king. But as he approached Zara, the woman who had stood by him through everything, in the quaint village of Melo lived a diligent and determined dwarf named Akala. Despite his small stature, Akala possessed a strength and work ethic that garnered his mother's endless praise. His mother, Amanda, often marveled at how much he resembled his father in spirit, if not in appearance. Akala's birth had been a surprise to everyone, especially Amanda. Neither she nor her husband had any dwarfism in their family, and the arrival of a dwarf child had been a shock. Amanda had struggled to come to terms with the reality, but the moment she gazed into her newborn's eyes, she felt an unbreakable bond form. Her baby was beautiful, and her love for him was pure. She vowed to stand by his side and support him in all his endeavors. Amanda's husband, however, reacted differently. Unable to cope with the societal shame and mockery directed at their family, he distanced himself emotionally and physically. He couldn't bear the taunts that questioned his manhood and the legitimacy of his child. One night, overwhelmed by anger and despair, he packed his belongings and fled to a neighboring village, leaving Amanda and their baby alone. Amanda woke the next morning to find her husband gone. Though she searched for him and sought help, he was nowhere to be found. Gradually, she accepted his absence and redirected her focus entirely on raising Akala. She was determined to secure a bright future for her son, even if it meant facing the disdain and isolation from the villagers of Melo. Her greatest fear was that Akala would never find acceptance or a wife within the village. The people of Melo kept their distance, wary and judgmental, making it clear that Akala's differences were not welcome. When Akala was 5 years old, Amanda took a bold step to secure his future. She traveled to the neighboring village, known for its tradition of early betrothals. There, she met a kind woman named Amira and paid the bride price on behalf of her young son, Akala, for any future daughter Amira might have. Moved by Amanda's humble gesture, promised to honor the agreement if she bore a girl. Amanda returned home that afternoon, her heart filled with joy and relief. She watched young Akala playing, knowing she had taken a significant step to ensure he would not be alone in the future. As the years passed, Akala's height remained unchanged. He was still a dwarf, but he grew stronger and more determined with each passing day. His hard work was unmatched. He toiled from dawn till dusk, striving to build a name for himself and gain the respect of the villagers who mocked him. But despite his relentless efforts, Akala was often sad and depressed about his stature. The villagers' cruel words weighed heavily on him, and he feared that the woman his mother had secured for him would also reject him. His heart ached with worry and self-doubt. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, he sat by the riverbank, lost in his thoughts. His mother approached, her steps light but purposeful. She sat beside him, her presence a comforting balm to his troubled mind. "Akala, my dear," Amanda began, her voice gentle but firm, "you are more than your height. You have a heart of gold and a spirit stronger than anyone I know. You must never forget your worth." He looked at his mother, her words sinking into his heart. "But mother, what if she doesn't accept me? What if everyone is right, and I am not enough?" Amanda took his hands in hers, her eyes filled with love. "You are more than enough, Akala. Amira made a promise, and I believe in the goodness of people. When the time comes, you will see that love and respect come from who you are, not what you look like." Her words were a beacon of hope in the darkness of Akala's doubt. He resolved to continue working hard, not just to prove himself to the villagers, but to honor the love and faith his mother had in him. Days turned into months, and months into years. Akala's reputation as a hardworking and kind-hearted individual slowly began to change some villagers' perspectives. They started to see beyond his stature and recognize his true worth. Then came the day when news arrived from the neighboring village. Amira had given birth to a baby girl. The promise made years ago was now a step closer to fulfillment. Amanda and Akala made the journey to visit Amira, carrying gifts and hopes for the future. As they arrived, Amira welcomed them warmly. She introduced them to her daughter, a bright-eyed girl named Zara. Amira honored her promise, and an understanding was reached. Zara would be Akala's betrothed when they both came of age. Akala's heart swelled with a mix of nervousness and hope. The future he had once feared seemed brighter now. With Zara by his side and the support of his mother, he felt a renewed strength to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As the years passed, the villagers of Melo began to show newfound respect for Akala. His strength and tireless work had transformed him into one of the wealthiest men in the village. People began to smile at him, their words laced with admiration. Yet, Akala was not deceived. His mother had taught him well about the duplicity of people, and he knew their respect was often tainted with hidden scorn. Focused on his future, Akala dedicated himself to providing for his betrothed, Zara. Each day, he prayed she would grow to love him for who he was, not for his wealth. He cherished the memory of her childlike laughter when Amira introduced her as his future wife, their innocent interactions filling him with hope. One night, as he lay in bed, he smiled, dreaming of Zara's future. He imagined her as a caring, beautiful woman, slim and graceful, who would see beyond his stature. The thought of their life together filled him with purpose. With renewed vigor, Akala threw himself into his work. Despite the villagers' superficial praise, he remained focused on his true goals. His reputation for kindness and integrity slowly won over even the most skeptical among them. On the day of Akala's visit to Amira's house in the neighboring village, his heart was a tempest of excitement and nervousness. He believed Zara, his betrothed, was now ready for marriage, and this visit would be the culmination of years of hope and anticipation. As Akala and his mother Amanda arrived, they were greeted warmly. They sat outside the hut, their smiles wide with happiness, awaiting Zara's appearance. When she finally emerged, Akala's breath caught in his throat. The sight before him was nothing like what he had imagined. The woman who stood there was not just grown up, she was significantly overweight, towering over him in size. His heart pounded in his chest, fear and doubt creeping in. He turned to his mother, his face a mask of uncertainty. "What happened?" Amanda asked, her voice barely a whisper, filled with concern. "Why is she this big?" she questioned Amira, who lowered her head in shame. "Zara has been eating excessively and living an unhealthy lifestyle," Amira explained, her voice tinged with regret. "I have tried to guide her, but she couldn't stop." Despite his initial shock and fear, Akala forced himself to look into Zara's eyes. In them, he saw not just the person she had become physically, but the same innocent girl he had met years ago. "But that could be dangerous for her health," he murmured, his concern genuine. Amira looked up, a small, grateful smile playing on her lips. Akala's reaction was unexpected, showing empathy instead of judgment. Left alone to converse, Zara and Akala sat in a quiet corner. Zara, visibly shy and self-conscious, spoke gently and respectfully, her voice trembling slightly. Akala, despite his initial shock, realized that her physical change did not alter the essence of who she was. She was kind and she spoke to him with a sweetness he had never experienced from anyone besides his mother. This realization warmed his heart, and he found himself genuinely caring for her. "Zara," he called, his voice soft yet steady, "I see the same person I met all those years ago. Your kindness and your heart matter more to me than anything else." She looked at him, tears welling up in her eyes. "I've always remembered you, Akala. And I've always known you would be my husband. I feared you would judge me as others have." But Akala shook his head, a gentle smile on his lips. "You are more than your appearance. I care for you deeply, and I want us to be happy together." Their conversation flowed easily after that, filled with laughter and shared dreams. Zara felt a sense of acceptance and hope she had long thought impossible. For Akala, Zara's voice, her laughter, and her genuine respect were enough to secure a special place for her in his heart. When they bid each other goodbye, the plan was set for their marriage on the next market day. Despite the initial shock, they both found themselves bound by a connection deeper than physical appearances. Their relationship blossomed with mutual respect and genuine care, ready to face the future together. Akala visited his future wife, bringing gifts of beads and cloths, ready to fulfill any request she might have. Despite the fear still lingering in his heart about her size, he vowed to love and cherish her without causing any pain or regret. But she soon noticed his slight distance and hesitation, understanding the effort he was making to suppress his fear. She smiled, her heart warming with reassurance as she resolved to devote herself to him fully. As he approached Zara's home, his heart pounding with a mix of excitement and anxiety. He held a beautifully wrapped package of beads and cloths, gifts for his betrothed. Zara stood at the doorway, a gentle smile on her face as she welcomed him. "My Akala, it's good to see you," she greeted, her voice warm and genuine. "And you, Zara," Akala replied, trying to steady his voice. "I brought these for you." She accepted the gifts graciously, her eyes twinkling with appreciation. "Thank you, Akala. They are beautiful." They sat down outside the hut, the atmosphere filled with nervousness. Akala struggled to find the right words, his mind racing with doubts and fears about their future together. "Zara," he called, hesitating, "I want you to know that I am committed to making this work. I want to love and cherish you, no matter what." She looked at him, her eyes soft and understanding. "I can see the fear in your eyes. You're worried about my size, aren't you?" Akala looked down, feeling exposed. "I am," he admitted quietly. "I'm scared that you might look down on me because of it, that it might cause problems between us." But Zara reached out, gently placing her hand on his. "I understand your fears. But know this, I don't see you as anything less because of your height. Your kindness and strength are what matter to me." He looked up, surprised by her perceptiveness. "How did you know?" But she smiled, her gaze pure. "I could see it in your eyes, the way you hesitated. I know people can be cruel and judgmental, but I promise you, I am not like them. I see the man you are inside." Her words washed over Akala, soothing his fears. "Thank you, Zara. Your understanding means more to me than you can imagine." She squeezed his hand gently. "We will face challenges, no doubt. But we will face them together. I want you to feel safe and loved with me, just as I do with you." Akala nodded, feeling a weight lift off his shoulders. "I promise to be the best husband I can be. I will always support you and care for you." "And I for you," she replied, her voice filled with sincerity. "We are in this together, Akala. Our union will be strong because we believe in each other." The conversation continued, filled with hopes and dreams for their future. As they talked, Akala felt a growing sense of confidence and assurance. Zara's acceptance and support were had dared to hope for. When they bid each other goodbye, their bond had deepened significantly. Despite the initial shock and the villagers' gossip, they found solace and strength in each other. Their relationship, built on mutual respect and genuine care, promised a future filled with love and understanding. The news of Akala marrying the fat maiden from the neighboring village continued to spread, causing a stir among the villagers. Some mocked the union, saying it wasn't enough that Akala was a dwarf. Now he planned to marry a giantess who would beat and kill him. Others shook their heads in amusement, anticipating the spectacle of their marriage. A few days before the wedding, Amanda called her son to question his decision. But as Akala spoke, she saw the determination in his eyes. He didn't care what people thought or said, his focus was on building a life with Zara. On a sunny day, Akala and Zara were married. They moved to a new house away from the village drama, leaving Amanda alone in her hut. She visited the couple frequently and saw how affectionate and cooperative they were. Zara's respect and gratitude for Akala were evident, and his love for her gave him the strength to move forward. The villagers waited for months, expecting the couple to fight or quarrel, but they were disappointed. She was always respectful to her husband, thanking the gods for blessing her with a man like Akala. Their marriage, built on mutual respect and understanding, flourished, defying the villagers' expectations and proving that true love and commitment could overcome any obstacle. Akala stayed happily with his wife, praying she would lose some weight, but nothing changed. The little respect he had gained from the villagers evaporated into thin air as his mighty wife continued growing more bigger each day and he became a laughingstock. Despite living far from the village, they became the topic of morning, afternoon, and evening discussions in people's homes. Akala pleaded with his wife to cut down on her eating habits, emphasizing the danger to her health and the risk of soon being unable to pass through their door. His wife tried to understand and listen to him, but the absence of food left her feeling restless. She would cook 3 pots of food and finish them all in one day. This behavior weighed heavily on Akala's mind, making it difficult for him to sleep at night. Zara would often fart in the room, polluting the air, and then apologize before grabbing another bowl of pounded fufu and soup. After bearing with the marriage for over a year, Akala, who had vowed never to take their problems to the hearing of others, found things getting out of hand. Intimacy with his wife was nearly impossible due to her size. Both Amanda and Amira spoke to Zara, urging her to change. She promised improvement but went from bad to worse, driving her husband away from their home. Akala busied himself with work, making more money and transporting his agricultural products to the city, returning home only at night. His wife's size had become a nightmare. He admired the beautiful, slim, dark-skinned maidens in Melo who took care of their husbands and children. He sighed, thinking of children. He couldn't remember the last time he had been intimate with his wife. The door had become too small for her, and she spent her entire day outside, unwilling to enter the house for fear of getting stuck. The house grew dirty and neglected due to her inability to move or work. The villagers mocked Akala incessantly, trying every way to make him regret his decision. One evening, upon returning home, he found the house in a dreadful state. He spoke to his wife, who was sleeping outside to get some fresh air, questioning why she wasn't sleeping inside. "The hut is too small and hot for me," Zara complained. But Akala stomped his feet in anger. "Your bad eating habits are ruining everything. Sometimes, I fear you might eat me if we stay together much longer." Hearing those harsh words, Zara placed her hand on her chest, tears streaming down her face. But Akala's anger was unrelenting. "I'm the laughingstock of the village every day," he continued. "I can't even associate with my customers from the city because of the news about you. Other maidens out there are in their husbands' houses, taking care of their families, but I can't even dream of having a child. I'm afraid you'd crush me under your weight." She could barely contain her tears. Her husband had always spoken kindly to her, and she had never expected to see him this angry. He stormed out of the compound, leaving her in despair. She searched for him, but the villagers all said they hadn't seen him. Akala stood among the gathered villagers at the king's burial, the atmosphere heavy with grief and muted conversations. Some were talking quietly, others crying, and Akala's face mirrored their sorrow, though his thoughts were elsewhere. He was consumed with regret over the fight with Zara earlier, replaying the scene in his mind. He remembered her hurt expression when he had spoken those harsh words to her. Guilt gnawed at him for making her cry, breaking a promise he had made to always keep her happy. She had accepted him for who he was, and now it was his turn to help his wife, even if it meant quitting his job to focus on their marriage. "She is a good woman," he mumbled under his breath, tears falling from his eyes without him realizing. "If she cannot lose weight after all the effort I will put in, then I will build us a new house to make her comfortable. She is everything I've got. My happiness, my joy. I will go to any extent for her." Resolute in his decision, Akala wiped his face and made his way back to their hut. When he arrived, he found Zara sleeping outside, immediately knowing she had been waiting for him. He gently tapped her shoulder, and she woke up, his name leaving her lips as she sat up on the mat. In the darkness, she searched his eyes for any hint of anger, but Akala's face was unreadable. He sat down close to his wife, whose face was filled with guilt and shame, her eyes avoiding his. "I'm sorry," he said gently, holding her hands. "I shouldn't have said those words to you. I have no justification for my behavior earlier. I broke one of my most important promises to you, and I know it hurt you deeply. You told me we would face challenges together, and I accepted that, but today I realized I haven't really stood by you. Instead, I buried myself in my work, which is wrong." Zara listened, her heart beating with guilt. She knew her husband as a peaceful man, and now she had pushed him to the edge. She let him speak, understanding that he needed to express his feelings. "Honestly, I don't care what the villagers think about our union. If I did, I wouldn't have pushed forward with this marriage. But I care about your health, our marriage, and our future. We will have kids one day, and I worry about them." Zara nodded, a sense of realization and understanding warming her heart. Her husband wasn't ashamed of her, nor did he hate her. He was merely worried about her and their future together. "I will even build us a bigger house with big doors and windows, with proper ventilation. But the question is, will that help you get healthy? I can't lose you, Zara. You matter more than the plantation I wake up early to tend to, more than my city customers and farmland. What am I working for if not to secure a future for us and our future babies? It hurts me to know that the one person who loves me the most isn't living healthily, and it frustrates me. I can't focus at work, and I am also not happy coming back home." Tears flowed down Zara's cheeks as she listened to Akala's heartfelt confession. She realized just how much her husband loved her. She reached out, pleading with him to stop, promising she would do her best to change. I realize now how much you care for me, Akala. I promise, I will try harder. I don't want to lose you either. Akala's expression softened as he saw the sincerity in Zara's eyes. We will work on this together, Zara. I will be here for you, every step of the way. Our marriage is the most important thing to me. They held each other's hands tightly, finding solace in their shared commitment to making their relationship work. I promise to work on our marriage more, Akala whispered, his voice filled with determination. We will get through this. Zara nodded, feeling a renewed sense of hope. They both stood up, with her husband guiding her inside the hut. As they settled down for the night, he felt a sense of peace he hadn't felt in a long time. They lay side by side, holding each other close, knowing that they would face whatever challenges came their way together. The next morning, Akala lay in bed beside Zara, relishing the best rest he had had in a long time. For once, peace filled his heart. When Zara woke, she was surprised to see her husband still sleeping. Panic seized her as she shook him awake, worried he might lose his city customers due to oversleeping. However, Akala opened his clear eyes, already awake, and listened patiently as his wife hurriedly informed him that she would make breakfast and bring it to him at his store in the market. Gently, he held her hand and asked her to lie back down with him. He explained that he wasn't going to work that day, shocking his wife deeply. Akala, known for his hard work and strength, was taking a day off to spend time with her and build their marriage. Zara, unknowingly, embraced him in bed, her smile bright and genuine. Seeing her smile eased the guilt in his heart from the pain he had caused her the previous day. He embraced her back, smiling. I want to stay home with you, he said softly. I don't know when I'll return to work, but for now, my family comes first. The city customers can wait. Zara was about to respond when they suddenly heard a large crowd approaching their home, yelling. Akala, who had built his home far from the village, usually paid little attention to village happenings. He hurriedly ran outside, holding a cutlass, asking his wife to stay in their room. But Zara followed him, ready to face whatever came their way. To their surprise, the villagers bowed before Akala, calling him king. Akala is our king, they shouted. The gods have chosen you to rule us. Akala, a dwarf, was going to rule the village. The crowd's joyous exclamations filled the air, and they seemed genuinely happy that their new king was a rich man known for his steadfast decisions. He stood before them, shock evident on his face. He recalled passing by the palace the previous night and seeing the late king's 7 wives crying bitterly, knowing they had no helper or place to go. Now, the gods had chosen him as their ruler. His wife, watching from the door, felt a mix of uncertainty and confusion. She knew this was what Akala had always dreamed of, to be respected by the people. Being their king would bring more than respect, it would bring power. But the tradition of Melo required a king to have at least 5 wives to be crowned, a symbol of strength for their ruler. As she grappled with this realization, the 3 elders bowed before Akala, presenting 10 beautiful maidens, 5 tall, slim, dark-skinned women and 5 equally beautiful but more heavily endowed women. Akala looked at the elders, still recovering from his shock. He had to admit the maidens were indeed beautiful, their dark skin glowing as they bowed to him with a respect and kindness he had never experienced from any maiden in Melo. He turned to his wife, who was leaning against the door, her face a mask of fear. The maidens were incredibly beautiful, with their beauty enhanced by their respectful demeanor. Akala looked at the maidens, the villagers, and then back at his wife. Confusion clouded his mind. He knew he had to talk to Zara. As Akala walked towards his wife, who stood by the door watching the entire scene unfold, he heard the maidens arguing among themselves. Akala is mine. No, he is mine, they said harshly to one another. I will be among his first 5 queens, they argued, causing a tight knot of anxiety to form in his chest. This was the opportunity he had always dreamed of, to be respected, to be a king. But as he approached Zara, the woman who had stood by him through everything, he realized the weight of the choice before him. Reaching Zara, he saw the uncertainty in her eyes, a mirror of his own turmoil. He took her hand, trying to convey his love and assurance through his touch. The villagers' chants of Akala, our king, still echoed in the background, adding to the gravity of the moment. We will be dropping the second part of this story only after part 1 has gotten at least 500 likes and comments. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next part.